Have you ever wondered why the exact same car, same engine, same everything is filled with injector cleansers and fuel additives in the US, while most Europeans just fill up and drive? Sounds like a small habit, right? Just a $10 bottle here and there. But over time, that difference can add up to hundreds of dollars. And the real question is whether or not it's actually protecting your engine. Some say US fuel is worse. Others blame emissions rules. But the truth is more complicated. By the end of this video, you'll know whether additives are smart insurance or expensive theater. Section 1. Same engine, different habits. Let's start with a simple example. Take the Toyota Camry 2.5-liter 4-cylinder. In the US, you'll routinely see owners pouring in injector cleaner every few oil changes. Walk into any auto parts store, and there's an entire wall dedicated to fuel system treatment. But in Germany, Japan, or the UK, same engine, same injectors, same compression ratio, and most owners never add a single bottle. Or look at Honda's 1.5-liter turbo. In America, it's common to hear, direct injection needs cleaner every 5,000 miles. In Europe, same turbo, same high-pressure pump, and no routine additive culture. So what's the difference? Is US fuel dirtier? Are American engines more fragile? Is it ethanol? Climate? Let's start with the easy answer. It's not that simple. If fuel quality alone explained it, the same engine wouldn't survive 150,000 miles on both continents. The real reason has more to do with fuel standards, driving patterns, retail culture, and a little bit of marketing psychology than it does with mechanical necessity. Section 2. The corporate truth. Here's what most drivers never hear. In the United States, gasoline only has to meet a federal mandate minimum detergent requirement set by the EPA. That minimum keeps engines legally compliant, but it doesn't guarantee optimal deposit control in modern direct injection engines. In the early 2000s, several automakers quietly noticed something. Engines running on minimum standard fuel were developing more intake and injector deposits than expected. So manufacturers like Toyota, BMW, and GM created the voluntary top-tier fuel standard, a higher detergent requirement than what federal law demanded. But here's the tension. Top tier is voluntary. Not all stations participate. Not all drivers know the difference. And that uncertainty creates a market. If you're not sure what's already in your fuel, you buy a bottle. Meanwhile, in much of Europe, many widely available fuels tend to meet or exceed high detergent standards as standard prices, rather than sold separately in neon packaging. There's less visible gap between minimum and premium. And whenever there's a visible gap in America, someone fills it with a product. So the question isn't just whether additives work. It's whether the system quietly encouraged you to think you need them. Section 3. What's actually in the bottle? Before we go any further, let's clear something up. Fuel additives aren't magic, they're detergent. The good ones use a chemical called PEA, polyetheramine. That's the ingredient that can actually dissolve carbon deposits. Not coat them, not condition them, dissolve them. But here's the part most people never check. Not every bottle on that shelf contains meaningful amounts of PEA. Some use much weaker detergents. Same bold claims, same price range. Very different chemistry. That's like cleaning a greasy grill with industrial degreaser versus wiping it with hand soap and hoping for the best. Both bottles promise results. Only one actually changes anything. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. If you're already running high detergent fuel like top-tier gasoline, your engine is already receiving cleaning agents every time you fill up. So when you pour in another bottle, are you solving a problem? Or are you just stacking detergent on top of detergent because the packaging made you nervous? Because at some point, more soap doesn't mean cleaner. It just means more soap. So when Americans and Europeans treat the same engine differently, it's not about fragility. It's about how much chemistry is already built into the fuel, and how much doubt is built into the aisle. Section 4. How much buildup can an engine actually handle? Here's another layer most people miss. Modern engines aren't helpless. They're designed with some margin. Engineers know deposits will form. They know fuel isn't laboratory pure. So, injectors, combustion chambers, and valve seats are built to tolerate a certain amount of carbon without falling apart. Think of it like cholesterol. A little buildup doesn't mean you're having a heart attack tomorrow. Older port-injected engines were especially forgiving. Fuel sprayed over the intake valves constantly, washing them like a garden hose. Direct injection engines, not so much. The fuel goes straight into the cylinder, so the intake valves don't get that rinse cycle anymore. That's where the anxiety started. But here's the nuance. Even direct injected engines are designed to run tens of thousands of miles before deposits cause measurable problems. They don't instantly clog because you skipped one bottle of cleaner. And just like engine wear with age, deposit tolerance changes with age too. A 150,000-mile engine with some carbon isn't broken. It's lived life. The question becomes, are you preventing a real issue or just trying to keep a perfectly normal amount of buildup at zero? Most experienced technicians don't treat additives like vitamins you take daily. They treat them like medicine. If there's a symptom, rough idle, hesitation, misfire codes, then you diagnose and clean. Engines aren't static, they age, they adapt, they tolerate. And your maintenance strategy should adapt with them. Section 5. The driving reality. Here's another myth. People assume additives are necessary because American fuel must be dirtier. But the bigger difference might be how the engine spends its day. In much of the US, cars live short lives. 5-minute trips, school runs, drive-through coffee, stoplights every quarter mile. Engines start cold, run briefly, and shut down before they're fully happy. That's like reheating leftovers 5 times instead of cooking one solid meal. Short trips mean incomplete combustion, more moisture, more blow-by, more opportunity for deposits to stick around instead of burning off. Now compare that to parts of Europe where higher sustained highway speeds are common and engines sit at operating temperature longer. Hot, steady engines tend to burn cleaner. They don't eliminate deposits, but they're less friendly to buildup. This doesn't mean American drivers are doing it wrong. It just means our usage pattern creates more anxiety about deposits. And when engines live a stop-and-go life, a bottle of cleaner feels like a cheap insurance. The question is whether you're solving a real problem or compensating for a lifestyle the engine was already designed to tolerate. Section 6. Engineers versus the marketplace. Here's the part most drivers never hear. Car manufacturers don't design engines assuming you'll pour a bottle of cleaner in every oil change. They certify engines to run on fuel that meets a defined standard. In the US, that means gasoline that meets EPA detergent minimums. If it meets spec, the engine has to survive warranty and durability testing on that fuel, period. Once a vehicle is certified, manufacturers aren't going to suddenly revise the owner's manual to say, by the way, add $12 of chemistry every 3,000 miles. That would imply the fuel spec wasn't sufficient in the first place. So officially, most manuals say nothing about routine fuel additives. But here's where things get interesting. The aftermarket doesn't have to pass durability certification. It doesn't answer to emissions validation. It answers to shelf space and consumer anxiety. If there's even a percentage that fuel might leave deposits, that's a product opportunity. Translation? The engine was engineered to run on spec fuel. The bottle was engineered to sell you peace of mind. So when someone says, you have to run injector cleaner regularly, ask yourself, is that coming from an engineer or from packaging? And remember, manuals are written for compliance and durability testing. The additive aisle is written for marketing. Section 7. Do additives actually work? Let's get real for a moment. This isn't about vibes, it's about data. In 2016, AAA tested gasoline with minimum EPA detergent levels against top-tier fuel. After 4,000 miles of controlled testing, engines running minimum standard fuel had significantly more intake valve deposits than those running top-tier gasoline. So yes, detergent level matters. But here's the twist. AAA wasn't testing bottled additives. They were testing what was already in the pump. Now look at independent injector cleaner tests, like the ones from Project Farm. Some PEA-based cleaners noticeably improved injector spray patterns and reduced deposits. Others barely moved the needle. Same price range, same promises, completely different results. In other words, a high-quality cleaner with strong PEA concentration can absolutely help in certain cases. But pouring a low-strength solvent into a tank that already contains high detergent fuel? That's like adding a splash of soap to a dishwasher that's already mid-cycle. The big takeaway? Additives aren't automatically snake oil, but not all of them earn their shelf space. And the effectiveness depends far more on chemistry and usage than on how dramatic the label sounds. Section 8. Are additives required? Now this is where people get nervous. If I don't run injector cleaner, am I hurting my engine? If I skip octane booster, am I risking carbon buildup? If something fails, will the dealer say I should have used additives? Here's the reality. Vehicle manufacturers design engines to run on fuel that meets the required specification, usually listed in your owner's manual. If the manual says 87 octane minimum or fuel meeting federal detergent standards, that's the baseline the engine must survive on. There's almost never a requirement that you add aftermarket fuel treatment at regular intervals. And just like with oil, manufacturers generally can't deny warranty coverage unless they can prove misuse or contamination caused the failure. Using approved fuel that meets spec, that's not misuse. Now here's the flip side. Using excessive or unapproved additives, especially octane boosters with metallic compounds, can cause issues. Oxygen sensor damage, catalytic converter contamination, fouled plugs. That's rare, but it's possible. So the real takeaway isn't never use additives, it's this. They're optional tools, not mandatory maintenance. Engines are certified to survive on spec fuel, not on a monthly bottle ritual. Section 9. When cleaning actually changes something. Now here's where people get tripped up. Yes, some additives contain strong detergents. Yes, they can remove deposits. But cleaning something that isn't dirty doesn't make it cleaner. If your engine is already running well, your injectors are spraying properly, and you're consistently using quality fuel. Adding more detergent doesn't multiply protection. It just overlaps what's already there. Detergent isn't like motor oil where more thickness means more cushion. It's more like soap. There's a point where you've added enough to do the job. Beyond that, you're not getting extra benefit, you're just repeating the process. Where additives make the biggest difference is when there's an actual buildup issue. Rough idle, hesitation, poor spray pattern, long-term low-quality fuel use. Used that way, they're a tool. Used automatically every few thousand miles, they become a ritual. And rituals feel productive, even when nothing is being solved. Section 10. More cleaning isn't always more protection. Here's a mindset shift that surprises people. A lot of drivers think like this. If a little detergent helps prevent buildup, then using it regularly must prevent even more. That sounds logical, but engines don't work like that. Modern fuel systems are designed with a baseline detergent level in mind. That baseline is already built into the fuel specification. When everything is working properly, deposits form slowly and stay within a range the engine can tolerate. Adding cleaner doesn't reset your engine to 0 miles. It removes certain deposits under certain conditions. And here's the nuance most people miss. Constantly trying to keep an engine at laboratory clean isn't the goal engineers design around. They design around function and durability, not cosmetic perfection inside the combustion chamber. It's the same reason you don't tear an engine down every 10,000 miles to polish the pistons. Normal operation includes a normal amount of residue. So if you're using quality fuel and the car runs smoothly, more detergent isn't automatically better. It's just more. And once you understand that, the bottle stops looking like protection and starts looking like an optional tool. Section 11. What actually makes sense? So after all this, here's the balanced answer. Additives aren't magic, they aren't mandatory, and they aren't automatically a waste of money either. Most modern engines are engineered to survive on fuel that meets the required specification. If you consistently use top-tier gasoline, drive your car long enough to reach operating temperature and aren't experiencing rough idle, hesitation, or drivability issues, you likely don't need a bottle every oil change. That doesn't mean additives never help. If you've been using inconsistent fuel, if the car sits often, if you drive almost exclusively short trips, or if you're troubleshooting a performance issue, a high-quality PEA-based cleaner used occasionally can absolutely make a difference. But that's the keyword, occasionally. Most experienced technicians don't treat fuel additives like vitamins you take daily. They treat them like tools you use when there's a reason. And that's really the difference between the American aisle and the European habit. Not smarter engines, not weaker fuel, just a different level of intervention. The same engine that runs 150,000 miles overseas without a monthly bottle ritual wasn't secretly built stronger. It was built to tolerate normal use. So don't buy chemistry out of fear. Buy when it solves a problem. That's thinking like an engineer, not like a shopper.